It was a thirsty Thursday in Pittsburgh. I just finished door dashing and put my bike away in my storage unit on the south side. I already made my quota for the week, so my plans was to take the weekend off. I was walking up Carson passing out flyers for a party when somebody asked me to DJ. So I had a stack of about 200 flyers I printed up from FedEx a few days prior. Some guy walked up and asked if I had any idea where he could get a haircut. I said I would offer to do it myself, but I'm passing out flyers for a party I'm supposed to DJ this weekend. He said, "You a DJ and a barber?" I said, "I'm a college student, so yeah, I got a couple odd jobs." He says, "What else do you do?" "I'm a self-employed security guard, a business manager. Why, you need one?" He said, "Not really, but what kind of party are you DJing?" I said, it's supposed to be a cookout in someone's backyard." He said, "Nice." I gave him a flyer and said, "My number is at the bottom of the corner. If you contact me before 3:30 tomorrow, I'll cut your hair at a good price, but you gotta tip me if I have to come to you." He said, "No sweat." I said, "Word." He said, "Are you good?" I said, "You can check out my artwork on my webpage. My contact info is on the bottom corner of the business card I handed you, the one with the flyer. So let me know early, but I have to go to hand out the rest of these flyers." He said, "All right, peace." So I said, "Peace." Crossed the street and posted up in front of my bank and began handing them out to people who came out of the bank and people who were walking by. A female came out of the bank and said, "What are you passing out?" I said, "Just flyers for a party." She said, "Oh yeah." As I sat here, "Is it here on the strip?" I said, "Nah, it's a cookout in someone's backyard." She said, "Oh, that's nice. What part of town?" I said, "Right here on the south side." She said, "Oh, cool." And I handed her a flyer and she asked who the DJ is. I said, "You're looking at him." She said, "You look more like a bouncer." She said, "But that's not a bad thing." I said, "I do that too. They just need a DJ for this one." "Oh, okay, so you must have money then." I said, "I do okay for myself. Miles to go before I can quit my job at DoorDash, but not the brokest pencil in the box." It was a thirsty Thursday in Pittsburgh. I just finished door dashing and put my bike away in my storage unit on the south side.
Hey, yo, study partner, where you at? What do you mean you're still in bed? You gotta get out of bed right now. Beautiful fucking day. You can't miss this study session. The last study session you missed, somebody had to get all the notes to you. I don't want you to miss this study session. So what's today's mathematics? Okay, so you got the numbers. Alright, man, make sure you bring them in a manila folder. Everything is nice. I want it looking nice. Last time, I had to hand it up to our lead instructor. They weren't happy with the way your notes were looking. I want the notes to look nice. How the notes gonna look? Nice? Nice. So look, I'm waiting for the bus to come. I'm gonna hop on the bus. I'm gonna be right over there to where you at. So, don't even move. Matter of fact, I want you to do something for me. Go to the store. Nah, forget that. Go to Starbucks, okay? Get us some coffee. Get us like 6 coffees. And go to the store. Make sure you get all the condiments, everything we need, the extra shit that you can't get at Starbucks. Go to the store.
You waiting on the 61C?
Nah, I'm waiting on the 56.
Oh, I was going to say.
Yeah. Nah, Nah, he was trying to tell me the 61C goes somewhere else right now. It's not stopping where I'm at right now. But don't worry about that. Get the coffee. I'll see you at the study sesh. We're gonna be some cops.
I say this to say this because it's not how much you got. It's the quality of life that you got. If you can cut somebody's hair, you can get that every now and then. And all you need is, well, I mean, I don't want to show you my clippers because, you know, that'll make the video longer. You know, but if I have to, just to show you, that I never leave home without these things right here. A portable pair of clippers. You get yourself a pair of these, you're in the business. You know, like how I am with my tattoo kit. I got a portable tattoo kit. I mean, just because I haven't been uploading tattoos that I've been doing doesn't mean I haven't been doing tattoos. I've been doing tattoos, but everything ain't for everybody's eyes, because when they know how good you're doing, then they track how good you're doing. When they think that you're doing bad, then they happy that you're being sad. So sometimes you want to be able to gauge how people feel about what you're doing, so you know, well, you're not worthy of this allowance, you're worthy of this allowance. You're not worthy of this extravagance, you're worthy of no extravagance. So don't give them the extravagance that they're looking for. Just have enough to get by week to week. And you're top billing. Get yourself $40.
Say, man, I heard you was coming out with a new movie. Yeah, I'm coming out with a movie. So what about this movie? Tell me about this movie. Like, it's supposed to be like something big? You coming out with a big movie? I don't do big. I do big movies. Okay? So if you're gonna say anything big, say movies, because when it comes to movies, they're bigger than life. And yeah, I'm coming out with a big movie. Alright, man. I was just checking. So whose name should I look for when I look for the big movie? I mean, it gotta be a name. Like, let me get a name with this big movie. The name's Bond. Bond. Well, it's actually Bon Blue Band, but you can just call me Bond.
Yo, it's another Forbes tale. This one's called The Dream Master. The Dream Masters, something like that. I don't know. It's gonna be something like that. Dream Masters, dreams, whatever, dreams, this and that. But yo, let's get it going. Like, forget what it's called. This is just a manuscript. This is another Forbes tale. True story. Yo, my dream is to help you master your dream. One of my favorite songs from the artist known as Meek Mills is a song called Dreams and Nightmares. How many of you are familiar with this song? Growing up before the Grammy Award-winning artist topped the charts for months, almost years, there was a horror film that had me petrified as a child until I overcame my fear of the main character, who was known as Freddy Krueger, played by actor Robert Englund. How many are familiar with this film? The reason I ask is I feel it's necessary for the group to get the full scope of the metaphor which I'm using to convey the kind of visual that is a vital comprehension of the seriousness of my dedication to you as a dream master, as well as you as a dreamer, or you as a dream catcher. Out of those three options, where do you feel you fall in the dreamer's totem pole? So before I explain the plot of this horror film, for those who have not seen it a million times over, like myself, I want to bring to your attention another metaphor which any of you who may be fans of the Grammy Award-winning artist Meek Mill, as I am, you should have heard it before, or at least be semi-familiar with hearing this term thrown around in the songs quite often. The term which I'm referring to is mastermind, which is subsequently the name of the platform created by Meek Mill and the CEO, most notably known as Rick Ross, quote unquote, the boss of Maybach Records, other label Masterminds, along with Meek Mills, who I'm a huge fan of both of their works and accomplishments in the music industry. Now, being a genius is one thing and being brilliant is another. I was blessed to be acquainted with a protege of mine who admired my style, who had also embraced the concept of being a mastermind. But as fate would have it, he passed away prematurely to violence he surrounded himself with long enough for those of us who knew him could see a tragedy like this passing, unfortunately. If you ever seen the movie Boys in the Hood, directed by, I believe, John Singleton, The Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe Part 4, which was known as The Dream Master, could be quaintly comparable to the plot or storyline in Boys in the Hood from a suburban standpoint. The magical part to bring some light to a moment of dark is the main character in The Dream Master, a female who noticed her friends were dropping like flies, and the villain, Freddy Krueger, who was responsible for their deaths, could be conquered by their strengths which they failed to cultivate for whatever reason, not their weaknesses that caused their friends to be conquered in their sleep. Years back, in an interview in my apartment at UT, University Towers, that was, during my first time in college at State College, I explained a phenomenon to the photographer or the videographer to one of my videos, a sort of player hater-like characteristic mostly associated with toxic people who I referred to as dream killers. This would be nothing like a character such as Freddy Krueger, rather in actual life, someone who causes you to doubt your dreams, a Debbie Downer, a dream killer, a player hater, just known to me and my friends as dream killers. Your gifts and your abilities, your powers to use your creativity, where you may, like if you are in one of those who can identify with the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Another horror film character was played by Jack Nicholson in Batman 1, the Joker, who used pandemonium to terrorize Gotham City in order to draw out the hero of the story, played by Michael Keaton, who we all know was Batman in my time. But like I said in a prior men's group at some point, after video killed the radio star, the point the Joker stressed was just like the generation of musicians who made music for the love. Many dreamers during recent pandemics, and many which passed, strayed creatively from the superhero theme songs of the 80s, such as Rocky, Fame, Cheers, I Wanna Live Forever, etc., realizing ain't no love in the heart of the city at the sound of the Joker's cash register as he bounces down the main streets of Gotham City in a Cadillac, throwing money at the crowds there to catch every dollar of it as he implores them all, like the modern day musicians in hip hop, asking us, hubba, 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 money, 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 who do you trust? Unless you want to be a starving artist or live below the poverty line, never to buy that dream car, finish off paying that dream house, come home to that dream wife, you will certainly respect the hell out of Matt McConaughey's speech in Wolf of Wall Street in the front row of the cinema, or in bed watching it on Hulu or Netflix with your girlfriend, or in your own Paris, Salvador Ferragamos, hearing someone like Leonardo DiCaprio recite those inspiring quotes in real life. There is no nobility in poverty. The struggle is certainly real, but as real as it gets, he never regrets having his car, his house, his wife, and that mighty dollar bill. Now, for those of us who only lasted at Global Skyline for about 1 week, not long enough to remember the difference between John and Wall Street, I would say I'm a dream catcher because I live to reach my dreams. Now, to master them has yet to transpire, but there still remains no I in team. A moment is silent for all the street dreamers. May more live to see and reach their dreams. Now let's start this new legacy together with a toast. Here's to the rebirth of my marketing team. Let's master these dreams. Another great book reminds me of one of my favorite kung fu flicks, The Five Deadly Venoms, which we will discuss in a moment. But first I have to ask this question. Out of a $1 bill, a $5 bill, a $10 bill, and a $20 bill, and a $50 bill, and a $100 bill, which one do you see the most and which one do you see the least in order? I know this is a funny question, but I have to ask this because I haven't seen my girlfriend in months, but if I did die in your arms tonight, I'd rather wake up in a bed full of singles, because if I had 100, I bet my girlfriend I'd see my wife.
So I just wanted to say, and you guys already know how I feel about, what is the word? Extravagance. There's so many people that feel they gotta be extravagant. I gotta have $1 million. I gotta have $1 billion. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's it. That's all you need to get by each week. Just have a couple of those, and you're all right. Get yourself $40. Yo, this is Aarao, Donnie Wu. This is another Forbes tale. This is a short story that I wrote somewhere over the rainbow. It's called Off the Hook Part 1. I'm gonna break it down a little bit, something like this. The story begins with a pair of Technique turntables I had to sell. Like I said, in my life and times, I never was the ultimate salesman. The only thing I was good at selling was cassette tapes, which I dubbed over to create mixtapes from instrumental records I bought for this purpose. As time passed, I came to a crux like everyone who sold and bought tapes and mixed CDs and made mixed CDs. Without a case, they cracked too easily. CDs became irrelevant. It was mostly the automobile and the video game revolution that made them more irrelevant with time. I remember a friend telling me before he passed I should sell my music on USB ports or USB drives. I always thought it was a good idea, but from a small town mentality or perspective, I believed that no one would pay me my worth. I was wrong. Plus, with eBay and Amazon, there is no limit to a global skyline and beyond. So I sat down to a pen and a pad and began to write this very story. Upgrading isn't always easy. Sometimes it can be quite awkward at first. But once you bridge the gap with technology and business salve, you now have a gift because you know how to take a curve. You got with the times, you listened to your friends' advice and began selling USB drives. You have a market that is not totally saturated yet because there is still a generation of MCs behind you trying to sell CDs. To keep things simple, you chose to team up with some like-minded individuals and opened up a studio out of your apartment like me. Made a thrift shop out of the basement or whatever part of your apartment is not occupied with your most treasured possessions where you sleep. The first product you focus on is your music on USBs, then flash drives, then hard drives, then phones, then laptops. You know the dreams. But you're smart enough and you took my advice and you studied business books on trademark and copyright and began to implement contracts in your music, which makes sense. Keep reading. So a little breakdown of the story. Off the Hook. Part 1. There's other parts and series to it. Generally, it's just about a guy who used to sell mixed CDs, mixed tapes back in the times. He started with the tapes and then moved on to the CDs. He was born, around the time when hip hop, first really was, its inception was, the essence of hip hop, the 80s, the 90s, that time when people were still listening to tapes and CDs. And he had to make a choice on how to change and adapt with the times when people stopped listening to CDs and tapes, and he didn't cross over into the industry. He never signed a record deal. He was on the verge of it, but never did. Wanted to be a big rapper, but ended up falling back and just being a DJ and a producer, making beats for other people, etc. But before this happened, and he ended up becoming a producer and a platform for other younger generation cats to make it through his beats and, through his sacrifice and his know-how from surviving the earlier generation, surviving the times. He opened up a studio and would record for cats out of his neighborhood. And, the studio wasn't just your ordinary studio. It was like a studio on the second floor, but on the first floor, it was like a thrift shop. And in the basement, it was like an electronics store. So he sold like laptops and cell phones and this and this and this and that. And in the story later on, you'll see how he comes across like, a little bit of a challenge because being black and being a guy who owns an electronics store or a laptop store, He fixes computers and stuff and dabbles in all of that savvy stuff. The lighter skinned cats are the cats that usually do that. Like whether you're talking about Arab cats, whether you're talking about the Spanish cats, or whether you're talking about white guys, the black guys, rarely in the hood do you see black guys or even in the big cities with their own thrift store, call it what you want, mom and pop shop, pawn shop, or whatever. Most of us, we have studios or whatever, but how many of us actually go to school for computer engineering or electronic engineering, etc.? So the guy goes to school for engineering, computer engineering, electronic engineering, and eventually he graduates at like maybe 50 or something like that. And he's just a part of some young people's career that actually make it and they never forget him. And he ends up being something like a pioneer, but doesn't make it really big. But basically it's like off the hook. So it's kind of like my version of I Got the Hookup, the Master P movie, but instead of being about selling drugs, it's more so about selling mixtapes, the life of a DJ who ends up becoming a producer that never makes it, but is remembered for being a part of people's career and being a staple in his community. And he just ends up, a 9-to-5 day job being a guy who owns a thrift shop. But so the next chapter begins a little bit like this. This is Off the Hook, part 1, and this is page 3. And it goes back and forth, him giving advice to younger people, like he's talking to his younger self, but he's also reminiscing and flashback of his times trying to make it in the industry as a younger cat. So this is the 3rd page. So through the wire you travel like a futuristic George Jefferson MC, balancing your EQ, staying on your P's and Q's, staying on your meds if you're me, keeping your goals reality-based, not missing the rent, but not missing work. Remember your day job is key. Not to shine a spotlight on anyone for any reason. Mental health is important for everyone indeed. Staying punctual with my doctor's appointments, making sure I finish school, keeping a tight support group. These are things that he's actually writing down like an itinerary, but I'm saying it like it's me. All right. Not just for business, but for when I'm going through it. The balancing act continues from institutions to jails back to the industry of your dreams. You're independent artist, business consultant, and independent contractor like me. So beg your pardon, it rhymes. That's how it comes out when you're a rapper. A lot of what you write is rhyme, even when you're writing prose. Okay, so underneath it, in the book, because this is a short story, it's actually going to be on print form. Like I'm going to actually print this up at like Kinko's and FedEx. It has a breakdown of what basically the schematics are for the beats that he sells, or basically the main character sells, whoever that is. So you have radio spins, you have live performances, you have single/album, you have TV, okay? You have lease, you have premium, you have non-exclusive, and you have exclusive. So lease to lease, it's like 100, premium is 500, non-exclusive is 1,000, exclusive unlimited, etc. Live performance 25, premium 50, 75, non, and unlimited, whatever. Okay, so it's just schematics breakdown. So the next page on Off the Hook, this is the last page where I ended it off. I only wrote 4 pages into this, but this is just another Forbes tale. Okay, you fall asleep and you wake up in a hoopty that you bought from a guy for $2,000, 2 G's. You wake up to a knock on the driver's window. I am you and you're me. Yo, my guy, you coming in to DJ the party or what? Yeah, here I come, I said, rubbing my eyes after nodding off for what I thought was a few minutes. Do you need help with your stuff? Yeah, grab my bag, it's in the back seat. As I stand up to lock my car door and grab my bag from this college kid, a couple of his friends walked up and offered a hand. Yo, you need help? They said to their roommate. Who is this? Yo, this is DJ Atman. Yo, DJ Atman. Yo, why they call you DJ Atman? Hey, man, they call him DJ Atman because he got the app, man. What does he mean? Never mind. Yo, this guy is so retro. He makes apps, genius. Yo, you make apps? Actually, websites. Why? Do you want one? A website? For what? For anything. You good? Talk to me after I set up my equipment. Say less. Yo, this is Aarao, Donnie Wu. This is another Forbes tale. This is a short story that I wrote somewhere over the rainbow. It's called Off the Hook Part 1.
You walking with me, you talking with me, you walking with me, you talking to me. You're walking with me. Leave the talking to me. These freaking Myrons, man. They get all the clothes, they get all the cookies, they don't even bring the soap. Now, what am I supposed to do about the soap? What if the Godfather comes in here right now? What if he comes down and he says, what are you doing right now? You getting cookies on my floor, you get these clothes for you or these clothes for me? You know what we're going to look like now? They're going to kick us down the street. What's the news guys under the bridge? They're not those guys under the bridge. I don't know who owns this place. I don't know if it's President Trump. I don't know if Obama owns it. I don't know if Biden owns it. We don't know who. Colonel Sanders could own this place. We got to make sure whoever the godfather of this place is, we don't make them upset. We don't want to make them upset. Okay? I'm going to give you some money. You're going to go over here to the store and you're going to get some soap and make sure it smells like they want the floor to smell like. There's a couple people, they sound better than me. They're very more professional, or they like sounding than me. Okay? They work here. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're from. But they might be able to kick us down to Africa, and I don't want to go there right now. I'm due to be there around 8 o'clock. Okay? You don't want to make them mad. You need the sponsors. Go get the soap. There's $1.50 for you. What you mean you don't see it? You don't see the $1.50 right now? You don't see that? That's $1.50 short, man. Pay for it yourself. Fucking idiot. You want some more?